Well, hello, my paranormal peeps, and welcome back to the Deep Woods Paranormal podcast. I'm your host, Matt Harvey. I'm an investigator, I'm a storyteller, and someone who spent more nights in haunted locations than I can count. So, across the United States, the historical hotels hold more than memories. Behind those elegant facades and whispers of tragedy, lingering souls, and the kind of energy that makes your hair stand on end. So grab your room key. Let's go explore the five most haunted hotels that still invite guests if you're brave enough to spend the night. All right, guys. So let's start with the Stanley Hotel. This is in Estes Park, Colorado. So let's start with the legend, the Stanley Hotel. Built in 1909, this beautiful hotel with White Manor-inspired Stephen King's The Shining. But you don't need to be in Hollywood to find chills here. Room 217 is the most famous room in the hotel. In 1911, a housekeeper named Elizabeth Wilson was caught in an explosion caused by a gas leak. She survived, but her spirit may not have moved on. Guests still report their belongings being neatly folded, lights being turned off on their own, and a phantom footstep pacing the hall. Well, that's kind of creepy. I've actually been to the Stanley Hotel. I'll talk about that in just a minute. Others hear a piano playing softly late in the night in the empty ballroom. Locals say it's Flora Stanley, the hotel's founder's wife, keeping her music alive. So I guess she used to play music during the night. Cold drafts, shadowy figures, and even laughter echoing from nowhere. The Stanley isn't just haunted; it's proud of it. They run nightly ghost tours for anyone daring enough to wander its long corridors after dark. So if you remember in The Shining, the little kids, actually, supposedly Stephen King supposedly saw that, something like that, and that's possibly what triggered that for him. There's a lot of ghosts that actually haunt the location, from what I understand. And, if you've seen the shows, you know that there's quite a few paranormal teams that have investigated there. So my question to you is, have you investigated the Stanley Hotel? Amanda and I don't think Amanda and I have ever actually stayed there, but I stayed there with my parents when we actually went skiing one year up there, one winter, during winter break or whatever. And I didn't really feel very comfortable in that hotel. I was only like 8 or 9 maybe at that point in time. I don't remember a lot about it. I do remember that hotel just creeped me out. But it's a beautiful hotel. I mean, not every room's haunted and everything, but if you get a chance, I would go check it out. All right, so let's talk about the Crescent Hotel and Spa in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. This was built in 1886. So if the Stanley Hotel is spooky, the Crescent Hotel is a pure nightmare fuel. In the 1930s, a man named Norman Baker bought it and turned it into a cancer hospital. Oh boy. He claimed he could cure anyone without medicine, without surgery, but patients never left. When investigators excavated the grounds, later that year, they found jars filled with human remains and tissue samples, horrifying proof of his crimes. So it sounds like he was actually operating on people and probably killing them and basically just doing autopsies on them. Today, guests report seeing apparitions of patients in hospital gowns, ghostly nurses pushing gurneys, and lights flickering in the old treatment room. One guest left coins on a dresser overnight. By morning, they were perfectly rearranged in a neat triangle. Interesting. The Crescent calls itself America's most haunted hotel, and it might just be right. So I've actually never been to the Crescent Hotel. It sounds like a very creepy hotel. Imagine, I've spent, unfortunately, many nights in hotel rooms. I mean, in not only hotel rooms, but also in old hospitals where things have happened. You hear like people talking and whispering and stuff like that. And, like I said, I've been through many, many hotels in my life, and probably thousands actually through my paranormal journey. But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine staying in a room where somebody was being operated on, and imagine what was going through those people's minds as he was basically doing what he was doing. I'm not going to even get graphic here because we might have kids listening, But imagine you're being basically autopsied while you're probably either slightly asleep or hopefully not awake, right? That would cause just automatic trauma. And for somebody to take your life so soon um, is just amazing. If I remember right, he had all kinds of. I've actually seen a special on this. He had like trap doors and stuff like that, and he would do all kinds of horrible things. He would put carbon monoxide into rooms to hurt people and stuff like that. This was like if you ever seen the show Saw, I mean, this was basically not that crazy, but it was just basically a death house. And so imagine going in there and staying in there. Imagine if he's still haunting those grounds. That would be insane to stay there. But it would be really cool to investigate, I think, as a paranormal investigator. You always want to go into the most haunted locations and see if you can document anything for yourself. And anyways, have you guys investigated the Crescent Hotel and Spa? What did you experience? Leave a comment down below. We'd love to hear about it. All right, so next location, the Omni Park House in Boston, Massachusetts. Our next, so this is where history and hauntings walk hand in hand. Founded in the 1850s by Harvey Parker, this elegant hotel once hosted Charles Dickens, J.F. Kennedy, and dozens of other American icons. But it's not the famous living guests that make it legendary. Floors 9 and 10 are home to flickering lights, sudden temperature drops, and the ghost of Parker himself checking on guests long after death. The creepiest story is the elevator that keeps stopping on the third floor and no one when no one's inside. Staff says it's Harvey taking one last patrol. Add in moving shadows, disembodied laughter, and persistent scent of cigar smoke from an era long ago gone, and we've got a haunting that blends class and chills perfectly. So, yeah, I mean, we've smelled like old cigar smoke in locations, and you're looking for a reason for it. You go up to the wallpaper and you're looking at the old furniture and you're trying to figure out what's coming from, but it's weird because there's no actual smell coming from those things that you can smell. But then you walk down the way and then all of a sudden you get like a puff of smoke in your nostrils. And you're like, what the heck? And then you get a cold spot, and then maybe you hear footsteps or something else. That's happened to me a few times where I've smelled the smell of like potpourri or something like that, like old perfume. So, yeah, I mean, definitely cool. Cold spots. That's just where energy is basically being pulled out of the air, and that could be a sign that a spirit's going to do something because they're using that energy to manifest in some way. At that point, you might get an EVP, you might get something coming through a ghost box or spirit box. You might get, an apparition caught on camera. You might get movement. You might see a shadow. You might get some kind of other activity. You might hear a disembodied voice. Somebody might see something. So yeah, very cool. Very, very cool. I've had lights flicker off and on. That's creepy. I'll tell you what. And then, the ghost of Parker Harvey himself, that would be really cool to see him like on the elevator and, doors open. He's there and it's kind of like translucent and you see him and then he pushes a button and then the doors close and he takes off up to the next floor and you go running up the stairs to chase him and he's there. He's not there. That would be really cool. So anyways, yeah, if you get a chance to go check out the Omni Park House in Boston, Massachusetts, let me know if you experience anything. Have you guys been to this location? Have you experienced anything? All right, so moving on. The Hotel Montolone in New Orleans. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Louisiana. So, in the heart of the French Quarter stands the Montalone as beautiful and haunted as it is. I'm sorry, I can't talk today. I don't know what my problem is. At least recently, I haven't been able to pronounce anything for some reason. Things I can normally pronounce. Okay, so one of the most haunted spirits is Maurice Barrage, a young boy who died in the late 1800s while his parents were away. Guests and staff alike have seen him roaming the 14th floor looking for his mom. Oh, that's sad. And then when you get scared spirits, I mean, that itself can be really, really cool because you basically they're very active usually, and they're very mischievous. I'm doing that because the dolls behind me are haunted, and things like to mess with things as I'm doing my podcast sometimes, as I feel a hand in the middle of my back. All right, so some say the elevator plays tricks. When children ride it, it'll stop at that floor, even if no one presses the button. So again, more childlike antics. When you get in the elevator and your kid goes, "Oh," and starts pushing all the buttons. Pretty much, yeah. So I mean, little kid spirits are essentially the same in death as they are in life. I mean, they're still playful, they're still mischievous, they still like to have fun, and they like to mess with people and stuff like that. So other reports of hearing laughter, running footsteps, and even seeing former employees still performing their duties. So that could be more like a residual thing, where basically there's just an energy kind of trapped in time where stuff is just still happening. It's like a rerun on TV. Like if you watch an old I Love Lucy run or something like that, or an old show that you used to like. Imagine that kind of playing out in real life where, basically somebody was cleaning the floor, somebody else was standing at the desk answering a phone, and stuff like that. And even years later, even if that person's still alive, that energy gets trapped in time and then basically just kind of plays like a rerun on TV. And sometimes people will see that. We had a lady call probably about 15 years ago, and I think I've talked about this before. It's just a good way to explain residual energy. She saw herself walking down the hallway. I think she had a laundry basket in her hands, and she walked down the hallway and then disappeared. And she was standing right in front of the hallway, and she saw this, and essentially she called right away. She's like, "I don't know what to do. I'm not dead. I'm alive." And she was just panicking. And I told her, "Don't worry about it." She had lived in this house for like 30 plus years, and she was an older lady. And she's like, I don't know what to do about this. I'm like, "Don't worry about it." And you might see stuff like that from time to time. It's just residual energy. She had done the laundry in the house for 30 years. And then she just, that energy from her walking up and down the hallway was just trapped there. It's not a big deal. Whoever moved in the house after she's gone will probably also see that. Okay. So Louisiana basically thrives with ghost stories, and the Monteleone stands as one of the most convincing, classy, tragic, and undeniable activity locations. So yeah, go check that out if you haven't been there before. And I'm probably mispronouncing this, but Louisiana is an amazing place. I mean, just all the history and all the stuff that's happened, all the hurricanes, all the bad things that have happened there. Just basically have caused that location to be haunted. I mean, if you think about all the stuff that's happened in Louisiana and in Texas too, but Louisiana is one of those places where it probably holds a lot of energy. There is, it's basically at sea level or below in most places until you get them halfway up through the state. And so there's water associated with it. Again, that water just brings energy, and energy allows spirits to manifest in some way. So this is one that people keep telling me I need to go check out. This is actually in San Antonio, Texas. This is the Menger Hotel. I've heard this is probably one of the most haunted hotels in the world, from what I understand. And again, if you've been there, comment down below. Tell me what your experiences are. This is one I haven't had the pleasure of staying at. One of these days, I'm going to take Amanda. We're going to go spend a night there and just see what we experience. And maybe we'll record it for you guys to experience it with us. All right. So deep in the heart of Texas, near the Alamo, the Menger Hotel is home to more than 30 reported spirits. Okay. So the most famous spirit is Sally White. She's a maid who was murdered by her jealous husband. She's been seen countless times pushing her towel cart down the halls, and her presence calm but sorrow. So she's basically just a soul that basically roams the hallways, pushing her cart, still doing her duties, and she's basically just really relaxed, but she looks really sad. So guests report doors opening, beds levitating slightly. That would be creepy. A man's face appearing in mirrors. Some investigators have even claimed spirits' communication with a Spanish-speaking ghost named Victor, and the relentless energy of Captain Richard King, who died in his namesake suit. Okay. So even skeptical visitors admit there's something heavy in the air, something they call it energy, and they can't. Others call it memory. So again, I talk about spirits as if they're energy all the time. But I've been on a bed that levitated. That was creepy as hell. Like something literally pushed the bed up as it climbed underneath. I don't know. And I looked under the bed when I got up in the next morning, and there was nothing there. I mean, there was nothing under our bed at all. And that's creepy as hell. But again, that was more of the negative type haunts. But yeah, poor Sally White. Anytime somebody's murdered in a location, there's a very good chance that they're going to possibly stay, especially if a lot of energy went into her killing. Her husband was jealous, evidently, and essentially, I don't know why he was jealous. Maybe somebody else was, interested in her or something like that. But like I said, doors opening, that's always interesting. We've had that happen. We've actually caught it on camera. If you guys want to go back and look at the Normandy Inn video where the door, well, I don't want to give it away. Just watch the land because it gets crazy. And then a Spanish speaking name ghost named Victor. That would be cool. So if you have anybody that speaks Spanish fluently, maybe you could take them with you and see if you could get Victor to communicate with you. Captain Richard King, we'll have to do more research into him. I don't know exactly who he was. Either a Civil War soldier or maybe he was, fighting during the Mexican-American War. That's huge in Texas, actually. There's a lot of battlefields here in Texas where the Mexican-American War happened. One of these days, we're going to sneak down to one of these battlefields and see if we can experience anything. But yeah, just a crazy cool place. A lot of my friends have actually stayed there, and they've told me they've experienced things like the coins being moved. They left coins out and found them moved and stuff like that. And they say that place just feels really haunted. So I'll ask you guys again: have you been to the Murder Hotel? Did you have any experiences? Please comment down below, or feel free to reach out to us. I'd love to hear about it. Anyways. So what ties all these haunted hotels together? The history, the tragedy, the emotionally strong imprint that's been left, whether it's residual energy replaying like old events or intelligent spirits trying to reach out. We may never know for sure. But one thing's for sure, when the lights go out, the halls fall silent and something still lingers. All right, so 2 more haunted hotels for you, okay? What is it? I forgot the name of the other one, but I'll start with the Queen Mary. So the Queen Mary, we've been on the Queen Mary so many times. You've got ghosts from everything from the engine room all the way up through the whole ship. I mean, the whole ship is just like a whole haunted location. Now, granted, it sits on the water still, even though it's basically on a sandbar. That ship's never going anywhere again. It's just basically the engines have been pulled out and stuff, which is sad. But that whole area, I mean, there's still residual energy down in the engine room and stuff like that. If you go down there, you can hear footsteps, you can hear people working. We've come across a World War II nurse that was trying to assist helping somebody. and she's still there. She's very intelligent, actually. Was able to have a conversation with her with our K2 meter. Unfortunately, we didn't have ghost box or a spirit box at that point in time, but we were able to communicate with her, and she was very interesting. And then when I was up at where the bow was, where the actual incident happened, where the Queen Mary ran over the other warship, and the sailors, they basically cut a warship in half with the front of their bow, because they were told, during World War II, don't stop because of U-boats, keep going no matter what. And so they had to keep going, and there was damage done to the bow. And I don't know if it was 30 soldiers died, drowned up there or what, but as we were doing an EVP session trying to communicate with whoever was there, an apparition actually formed, and we were sitting on the ropes up in the front, where they keep the ropes and stuff. It's basically just for show now. But anyways, we were sitting up there, and it's kind of staged as if it would have been back in the day when the ship was still going, and we weren't getting very much activity. And all of a sudden, this guy sitting between a man and I just appears, and he stands up and he looks straight at me. And that poor guy, he had blood coming down the side of his face, and he was in an old sailor's outfit. And he looked at me, and with this disappointed look, like he was frustrated. And I think he was just sad that essentially he was still there. And then he disappeared. And I was like, okay, he just looked solid. I mean, he looked like a person. And then he slowly faded out and disappeared. I think he might have been intelligent, as I get goosebumps down my arms on my back, cold spot behind me. And then, of course, there's room B340. There was actually a couple different times where people were actually murdered on the ship. So the story behind B340 was, it's actually room B340, where room B340 is now, is actually two different rooms, but they've made it into one. So essentially, stuff moves around in that room. There's a lot of poltergeist-like activity. A guy supposedly murdered his wife and drowned his kid in the tub in that room. That bathroom I don't think that bathroom is still really well put together. But they pulled the carpet and everything out of there, and we were sitting there for about 45 minutes or so. There wasn't any activity. And then this is 20 years ago when we first started. And so we didn't have a whole lot of gear with us. We didn't have video cameras or anything. And because the Queen Mary back then, if you wanted to come onto the ship, you couldn't come on as a paranormal investigator. You had to be really careful about running around with different gear and stuff, because they would kick you off the ship at this point. When we first started, you could do whatever you wanted. You could carry cameras around. You could do EVP sessions. You could go into anything that was unlocked. But in this case, we were in there, and then all of a sudden the whole room just started to change. It got thick and heavy on the side we were on. And the lady was standing next to me. I'm like, does this seem different to you? And she's like, yeah, it's getting thick and heavy in here. I'm like, yeah, something just changed. And the people on the other side of the room, which is the other room, actually, weren't experiencing any of this. It's like 15 people. We were with Erica Frost back at that time doing a ghost tour. She gave us a personalized ghost tour. So she walks out. They all start to walk out. I walk out. I'm like, I just felt like something was wrong. So as we walked down the B deck, which is one of the longest decks on the ship, we got about halfway up to the front, and I'm like, I gotta try. I kept feeling like we were being watched, and something was just standing there. So I looked down the hall. I don't actually see anything, but I took a picture. This is with an old digital. I think this was the old. Yeah, I think it was a digital camera. It's like a 2.5 megapixel digital camera, right? So it's not anything that we use today. I mean, 2.5, if people would laugh at that now, but that was a brand new camera back in the day, 20 years ago. So I start taking pictures one after another. I took 10 pictures, and in one of them, there's a shadowy figure standing down by room B340, just kind of like glaring at us. So that was really cool. We've investigated that place. Friends of mine and I, we've gotten so many EVPs from in there and all kinds of other stuff. other place we've been that we now is actually a hotel again is the Normandy Inn. If you get a chance to go stay there here in Texas, it's down in Galveston, Texas. And Queen Mary's in Long Beach, California, by the way. I don't know what's going on with it. I've heard it's undergone renovations again, and there's all kinds of stuff going on with that place. They just can't seem to figure out how to make it work. But anyways, so the Normandy Inn, we got the opportunity. We're the only teams ever legally investigated that location. We spent 2 full nights in there. I was going to spend the night, but I chickened out. I didn't want to be the only one, and it was hot. No running water, no toilets, no nothing, nowhere to go to the bathroom or anything. And I would have had to bring everything. I would have to bring like a whole bunch of stuff with me, more than normal, to actually investigate that location. So we spent 2 nights in there, and I don't want to give away the video. You can go back and check it out. But the first night, we didn't have a lot of activity, all other than a spirit basically saying he's coming up to us, and essentially, basically they with Amanda and Elena saw a full body apparition, maybe the same entity, in the house. And so a little history of the place. Basically, it's just changed look, basically has changed. Sorry, I'm struggling here. Blah. Don't know why I can't talk recently. So essentially it started out like a hotel, and then it went to like a place for kids, basically abandoned kids to stay. And then it went back to like a retirement community, and then it went back to a hotel, and they just fixed it up. And basically then a hurricane hit, and essentially, they lost the property, and it's sat dormant for almost 20 years. And then basically recently, in the last couple of years, somebody went through and redid it and made it into a hotel again. It's beautiful now. But anyways, when we were there, we experienced little kids. We were playing hide and go seek with the little kids with the K2s. We left the K2s in the hallway and stuff like that. And you can watch the video, you can see that. And then at the end of our time there, we actually had the ghost box going. I'm sorry, we had the spirit box going, not the ghost box. We didn't have the ghost box then. I wish we would have. Spirit box. And as we were, our last hour there during the day, a woman's voice starts coming through and basically telling us we need to leave and all this other stuff, and ended up with a dramatic ending. I'll just say that. It was really cool. Creepy, but cool. So if you get an opportunity, I'd recommend you go check it out and stay there if you can possibly do it. I think Amanda and I are going to do it in the future. Might be one of our Halloween night things. So, would you guys stay in any of these rooms? Would you guys go stay in any of these hotels if you knew it was haunted? Basically that's 7 haunted hotels for you guys to kind of think about. Are you interested in any of these haunted hotels? All right, guys, we will catch you guys on the next one.